Yes, it would.
You have fixed
We lose
costs.
money on lunch and dinner.
You have fixed costs and variable costs. Your fixed costs remain the same regardless of the quantity of people. The variable costs change. That's why by adding more business, you can minimize that cost.
That's true if there's a profitable, if the item is profitable. When it starts unprofitable, as you increase the volume, you don't, it's unprofitable the entire time. You don't ever get to a profit. Only if you do profitable business. And in this association, the profitable business in food and beverage is the outside events, and then some of our theme things like doo-wop and stuff like that. And it's been the sense I've gotten from this resident base that they are content, as they'll tell you, it's also tell you that every CIRA subsidizes food and beverage for probably that very reason. And the other reason that they gave is very true. I mean, there's a lot more competition that's coming to this area now, and there's more choices for residents to use.
I want to go to page 44. I'm sorry, 47. 47. Could you, put it on the screen? There. The last category, project golf loss for 2010, 108,000. Interpret what the $11 will do per owner per month. Is that going to increase or dissolve the loss by increasing it $11 a month? Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, basically with that, we're trying to reconcile where projected. If you were to follow earlier, if you were to follow the CIRA model, it's saying per homeowner per month, you should get $41 from that. We're not, because we're getting an additional $30 per homeowner per month from what is being produced. That's the 495,561 divided by the per homeowner per month. So that effectively that would leave us with $11 projected golf loss, just to try and convert that. It's not going to cost anything right now. It's just, I don't know if that projection still holds true, Janice. The numbers look right now. But obviously, whatever that number is at the end of the year, basically what we were trying to get at there is just the per homeowner per month. Obviously, it's going to have to come from assessments, whether budgeted or not before. So I'm clear.
Yeah, I guess the other part of the presentation that struck me is that we are being compared in all aspects of this presentation to the CIRA industry average, which may or may not quite honestly be applicable to us. My understanding, most of those CIRAs are down in the Sarasota and Naples area. And I know the Amenity Task Group has done something similar on their own, looking at other communities more local to us who really are the ones we're competing with. But I just want to make sure, so I did my own analysis using, and by the way, if anybody's interested, this is an excellent report that the faculty puts out called 2010 Florida Trends in Private Clubs. This is the information that the presentation is comparing us to. But just so everybody's aware, as an example, the industry average for monthly assessments, the CIRA average, is $408 versus our assessment of $175. Now, understanding that obviously they probably have bigger clubhouses, etc. What I tried to do is then say, well, okay, let's take a look at what the percentage increases in those assessments were over the last few years. Our increase was, this is per year on average, our increase was 3%. The industry average was almost double that, it was 6%. In addition, the CIRA industry average has an annual membership joining fee of $2,400. And they acknowledge again in the report that their membership is declining. They have more resignations than they do new members adding up. There was a comment made that when you increase the price of a commodity, it does not necessarily lead to the increased purchase of the commodity, and I agree with that 100%. However, in this case, even though they're having fewer members, that $2,400 represented a 14% increase from last year. And again, as was pointed out in the presentation, if you look at every category that we're compared to, I'll give you an example, food, beverage, as we saw. And I'll give you the dollar numbers instead of the resident assessment. The food, beverage average loss in the industry, the cereal industry average, is $403,000. We lose somewhere between $80,000 to $90,000. The golf, as again was previously mentioned, the golf resident subsidy here is about $9, and the industry average is $41. All of the golf course maintenance numbers, the cost maintenance per hole, and per acre per round, as was discussed in the presentation here, are all significantly below the cereal industry average. That's great to report. I still say we need to compare ourselves to better numbers, which I think is the local associations here as to how well they're doing, because they're also doing, by and large, better than the cereal industry average. So our comparisons are kind of easy in that regard, and we need to set our standards a bit higher. That's sort of a comment.
No, thank you for that comment, Kevin. We appreciate that. And obviously it came up, was a good question raised by the Amenity Pricing Committee. Right?
Just so
One thing I haven't mentioned, we had an amenities task group which consisted of myself, Janice, and Bob Ferris that kind of worked with the group. It was just kind of helps like set up focus groups and to do that sort of thing. It was not meant to drive the conclusions or the recommendations or anything like that. It was just mostly something. So yeah, we did have an amenities task group we called it.
Right. Thank you. And they rightly made a similar comment as we walked through. My response, or our response to that was absolutely, okay, here's how your community is structured right now. If you're going to benchmark, you tell me the communities that you want to be benchmarked against. And we were given 3 communities, 3. Timber Pines, Timber Greens, Heritage Springs. Timber Pines is an audit client of ours, and they fall right into the data that we presented here. With one exception, their cost per hole is lower than yours. Timber Greens is semi-private, there's no annual golf memberships, no non-member resident memberships either. But the fact that they were semi-private and don't have annual golf memberships, to me, is trying to compare apples to apples as much as we felt that knocked it out. We got some financial data, some key information, but really, the benchmark, that's 2 totally different operating philosophies right there. That leaves you with Heritage Springs, which I believe is a sister community. And we did get the rate schedules and fees for that, and looked at it compared to yours. It looked pretty, there wasn't anything jumped out in there that changed the conclusions in our report. But your comment is absolutely valid. And I think a comment we made as well to the Amenity Pricing Committee is, we deal with spirits, Florida, North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, across the country, Las Vegas. And by and large, the interesting thing when you run the averages on this, not to be statistics, but the mean, median, and mode are all right there. There's really no outliers, big outliers in this stuff. So again, for what it's worth, I appreciate your comments, but that's where we ended up.
Thank you.
I'm interested in revenue enhancement ideas, and the 4 that you targeted on page 57 were things that our long-range planning committee had come up with. The one on the bottom, the capital contributions, I heard recently that there may be some legal ramifications to that coming along. Do you know anything?
I think what you might be referring to is the proposed law that would ban developers from profiting on resale. And it would be in your original deed.